Okay, so this is kind of like a summary of 2016 vlog, I guess. 2016 was a pretty bad year for me, to be honest. And I'm going to sum up why I thought that was. Just a basic summary, no points in order of the month they happened or anything. So two main things defined my time in 2016, and that is firstly the overtaking of feminism to a new extreme, and just having to deal with that, the fact that it's saturated everything now. That's feminism, social justice, BLM, all of that stuff. I just put it under the bracket of social justice. And the second thing is my dad's health. Ever since last October, he kind of crushed his leg in the middle of the night, broke a bone, and ever since that time, from there to now, he's been getting constant kind of health problems and things, and no one really cares for him as much as I do. I mean, the people in our family, I mean, my mum helps, and she takes him places by car and things, but she doesn't like him, and my brothers don't like him. I feel like I'm the only one that really puts an effort into, talking to him and making sure he's okay. Even though I can't drive, so I can't really do too much in the way of really helping him get places, I at least try and see he's okay and got everything he needs, and I go out and try and get food for him and things, or supplies. So I've been playing the role of carer kind of ever since last October 2015, when he broke his leg, and he's broken his leg, he's had bladder and prostate problems. In the middle of 2016, he had an abdominal aorta, which is a vein in your chest somewhere, kind of swell up, and you can see it via x-ray. It kind of swelled up to almost the size of his whole waist, sort of thing. It must have been pushing all his other organs outwards, and the doctors said he was at risk of having an aneurysm when that happened, which is basically death within any time in the year, unless he had a major surgery operation, which he could also have died from. We had to take him to hospital quite a lot, and he had major surgery, and amazingly he's doing well from it. He lived through it. He has been doing well from that surgery, and his bones healed from his leg, but his kind of prostate and bladder problems are still going on, and recently, at the end of the year here, he's had major back pain. So he's on painkillers, and the doctors told him to keep taking strong painkillers and exercising, and hopefully that will be gone in 3 weeks, they say. So fingers crossed we can try and get my dad's health all sorted. I won't dig into the feminism stuff too much, other than since 2009 this has been growing, and it reached a peak in 2016, and it's just everywhere now. And I've got other videos about that, but basically I found a belonging with the anti-SJW YouTube community. Even though some of them don't like being called community, I've kind of felt myself being part of that. I disagree with a lot of things they say, obviously. I agree with a lot of other things they say. I agree with the general move to go against the regressive left and the kind of authoritarian far left feminists and SJWs. What they're doing is very harmful for people in day-to-day life. So in no particular order, there's a bunch of other things that have been happening this year or have come out this year. One of the other major things that is a positive, I think, is Space Engineers for me, which is a game that it's been out for a while, but I only just noticed it and got into it at the start of 2016, which is when the Planets update came out. And obviously, if you watch my videos, you've probably seen me playing through that. It's a brilliant game. It's a sandbox universe. a 90s child me would have absolutely loved it. It's a game that basically allows me to do so many different things that I always expected to be able to do from a game some point in future. As a child, I just like looking to the future going, oh, I wonder if one day we'll just be able to have a map that isn't just a map, a level that is just an entire solar system, and you could just go around it and you could build what you want and you could build where you want it, and it would stay there in that place. It could be multiplayer so other players could see it and they can add to it. There would be a fully physics simulated world, and that's what Space Engineers is basically. You can do so many fucking things in that game that you can't do in so many other games, no matter how polished they are. So also this year Battlefield 1 came out. I'm a fan of the Battlefield series. That's an example of a game that is very polished and is extremely good looking and looks extremely realistic, but compared to Space Engineers isn't physically extremely realistic. You don't have entire planets to walk across. If you're on the map of Amiens, is that how you pronounce it? Amiens? You still have boundaries at the edge of a level. It's still a map, a level, it has boundaries at the edge of it. You can't say, be in this level which is in France, and then suddenly decide you want to go to America halfway through the match or whatever. Whereas in Space Engineers, you basically can do that. Not that there are any defined continents, but if it was an MMO with enough people, I'm sure they would define their own continents and things. BF1 was pretty good too. I always played the Battlefield games since Battlefield 1942. Originally, we were PC gamers, me and my friends back in the day in the 90s, and we just thought, what's going to be the first vehicle game? The game where you're on a landscape and you get to use vehicles as well as running around on foot. And we all thought it was going to be Halo, and we'd always watch the Halo trailers, and the hype about Halo was just like, oh, we're finally going to get a vehicle game. There'll be cars, there'll be planes, as well as walking around. And it turned out, I think Halo was released on console, but it wasn't released on PC for a long time. And I think before all that, 1942 beat Halo to the punch and came out, and it was the first vehicle game, and it was pretty good at the time. It's not so good now. If anything, its mods made it what it was. The Desert Combat mod for Battlefield 1, I played that obsessively, and that was an amazing game. I was actually one of the beta testers for it. They did like a partial invite-only beta, and I was quite proud to be involved in testing that. I think it was 2003. I played the games in between that, like Battlefield Vietnam and Battlefield 2. And after that, a friend in uni introduced me to Battlefield 2142, and for a long time that was my favourite game. That was just an incredible Battlefield game. It still is the best Battlefield game. But BF1's pretty good, and BF1 does a lot of things right that new modern games haven't been doing for a long time. Your player is not blocked off from going places as much. There's like fully destructible houses, you can go in most of the houses. The only really thing that you get stopped for is going to the very edge of the map, and you get that kind of, this is the edge of the map, you will be killed in 15 seconds limit, come back into the battle. That's still a pain in the ass, but for the most part, BF1 is a brilliant game because it gives your player freedom to do things at last. Anyway, other things that happened 2016. Metallica album came out, that was brilliant. I've been listening to it on and off for a few weeks now, and I've got to say, it's a good album. As with all pieces of music or albums, you take a while to get into them. Like the first few listens, you're like, ugh, what is this? But it does grow on you, and then you realise, oh shit, this is genius. It actually works. And so I'm listening to that right now. Very soon, there's a new mini 9 Inch Nails album coming out, so I'm going to get that hopefully. That's this Friday actually. So definitely get that as a Christmas present. If you're anything like me, I love kind of industrial music and proper kind of like metal and stuff that has a kind of adult voice behind it, or a strong kind of serious voice behind it, like Rammstein, Marilyn Manson, Prodigy. Love the drums on Prodigy, love the drums on Metallica and 9 Inch Nails. These are kind of fantastic for me. Saw a bunch of movies this year. Obviously, I saw the Red Pill movie in Cambridge, which relates to the feminism thing once again, and men's rights. Other films, when I went on my city trips to Bristol and such, I've seen Batman vs Superman. It's alright, it's not amazing. Definitely watch Batman The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and Part 2, which is an animated film, and that is basically the best Batman film. Doesn't matter that it's not live action, it's the best Batman film. Saw Cloverfield 2, it's called 10 Cloverfield Lane. That was weird. It was alright, once again. I watched Deadpool on the same day, which was amazing. Fucking could be the film of the year. I think it's probably the film of the year. I think I watched Civil War. That was terrible for me. Again, there are tiny glimmers of things I liked about it, but the Marvel Cinematic Universe has really been going downhill lately. I did borrow Daredevil off my brother to watch, and again, that was alright. There was so many bits of it where I just thought it was mimicking Hannibal, the TV series, in a way. I liked the guy who played Kingpin, but I still think you could get someone better to play Kingpin, and he does need to be way bigger than that. I watched Independence Day 2, that was awful. See my review for why. I finally installed UT4, or UT as they're calling it, which is done because UT already exists. This is Unreal Tournament 4, the semi-community made project by Epic Games, where Epic Games are programming it, but they're allowing a lot of maps and weapon designs from the community in their forums. That's been alright. Pretty fun to play sometimes. Other times a little bit difficult to play and not as fluid as I would have liked it. I saw The Bourne Identity 5, which was an okay film, but not that good, I would say, compared to other Bourne films. I think the first Bourne Identity film could have easily been a standalone. I loved Franca Potenta in that. She's great. She's also great in Run Lola Run. But, you know, after they killed her off, the series sort of wasn't as good. I really liked the dynamic between Bourne and her, Marie. I saw Vikings for the first time, which is spectacular. Really great, kind of in the vein of the Tudors. Really great kind of medieval epic. You should really check that out. The main character who plays Ragnar Lothbrok is really great in that. The kind of brutality and barbarianness is really kind of, and the myth of Vikings is kind of brought to life in live action. The new Red Dwarf came out this year, new series of Red Dwarf. That's pretty good. They're doing pretty well. I thought, you know, after the Back to Earth thing and seeing all the old crew get old, I mean, I still love them, but they couldn't keep up the same energy. It's doing pretty well to maintain a good level of comedy. It's not as good as series 1 to 3. I think for me, I loved series 3 of Red Dwarf. You've got loads of just interplay between Lister and Rimmer, and you've got like the Backwards episode and the Marooned episode, which is probably my favourite. It's basically flatmates in space. And I saw Rogue One, of course, which I left a little review of, a little audio review. Some more personal things. I viewed some houses halfway through the year, but then I realised I couldn't really go moving out while I was looking after my dad, and he was going in and out of hospital at the time, and I thought, yeah, I could move near him, but at the moment maybe I should just stay here for a while he's going through this shit. I worked a lot for my family, which is at a business I really hate, to be honest. My parents have this whole food business. We've had it for like 20 years in one town and 8 years in another town, 2 shops, and it's really not my kind of area. It's not morally fulfilling, and I worked myself to the point of exhaustion, I think, this year, so I had to take my days down, and I really need to find some other line of work, basically. It's been quite a warm winter. At the start of this winter, though, my Raynaud's syndrome kind of persisted. You can't see it, it's in my hands, you can't see it at the moment. Basically, for the past 5 years or so, I've had this kind of Raynaud's circulation thing in my hands. It's really hard to explain to people why the cold triggers this syndrome thing in my hands. Like when it gets below 9 degrees C, this thing starts happening to my hands. They go white at the fingertips. A lot of people get that, but then there's a second stage where they go red and they swell up and they start being inflamed and generating their own heat. So even though it's the cold that triggers it, you can't exactly put gloves on or heat yourself up to try and keep it away, because it makes it worse. And then there's a purple stage after that where it tries to heal, but it goes down and my hands go kind of purpley and dry, and at that point it's really painful. I mean, it's really hard to grip things during the red stage, but it's really painful during the purple stage because the slightest knock on my fingers results in quite strong pain, more than it should be, and definitely more than happens to me in summertime. So I've had to deal with that at the start of December. It's been quite warm since then, so my hands have basically gone back to normal now. They're not too bad, but we've still got January and February to live through, and I think it will get colder very soon. Don't have it in summertime, not at all. It just goes away. Once the temperature goes like over 9 degrees C or 10 degrees C, this just goes away completely. It's like a disability I have, but only in winter time, which is a pain in the ass. So to try and combat the circulation problem during summertime this year, I've been hiking a lot and going out on runs and jogs on the moor. We live out in the countryside in the middle of nowhere in Devon, basically, so go out on jogs quite a lot there to try and get my circulation working. On Halloween, in fact, I did the pumpkin carving and stuff, and I went for a hike up on the moor on Halloween thinking it was going to be cold, but it was actually a heat wave. It's the first time I've had a heat wave in Halloween. Very strange. My cat, Remy, had problems with her teeth this year, which means the vet had to remove some of them. And one of the little nicknames I used to call her was Needle Tooth, because she had a little light. Are they incisors? The two kind of vampire teeth that cats have right there and there. Unfortunately, this year the vet had to take those teeth, so she doesn't have those anymore. She's not Needle Tooth, which is a shame, because you know those little saber tooth bits, they seem like an inherent part of a cat. It seems so weird to not have them if you're a cat. So it's sad to see her lose those, but she's alright, and the vet says you don't need those teeth anyway, so she's fine. Going back to my moor hikes, one of the hikes I did, I got to the top of Cox Tor, which I filmed, is on my channel. That was kind of an achievement for me because I hadn't been for a long time, and normally to get to that tour we normally just go by car to the parking lot at the bottom of the hill and then walk up, but I walked, it must be like 7 miles or more to Cox Tor, which is this, I guess between a hill and a mountain is what you'd call a tor on Dartmoor National Park. So that was a sense of achievement because I walked the whole way back in one day. The reason I care for my dad, despite the obvious fact that I love him, is that when I'm his age, I'm not going to have any of the support systems that he has. So he's got loads of hospital visits at the moment, and we're looking after him and taking him back and forth there. I don't feel like I'm going to have that at all when I'm older. I've been doing a lot less art this year, which is a shame. I guess my motivation has been very low because of all the things I've had to kind of reel against. But I got a new PC and I did a lot more. I think I got my new PC last year and started my Des Destroys like over a year ago. Des Destroys is my gaming videos I do here. So I haven't been doing too much art, but I've been doing little art assets to go in videos and stuff, and I've kind of got back into media because I did a media degree once a long time ago, and I've kind of got back into media in a small way with doing my gaming videos and doing my vlogs like this one and editing. Haven't done that in a long time before this year, I think, so that's something new. Met a uni friend in Plymouth this year. tried vegan food with my brothers for the first time. It was kind of gross and plain. Maybe I'm not trying the right vegan foods, but I have no reason to be a vegan whatsoever. I just thought, you know, so many people bang on about the vegan lifestyle. I'm curious to see what that's like, how they're eating. A lot of political things happened this year. The Brexit happened, which sounds like a serial still to me. Britain leaving the EU. The US elections happened. I want to stay the heck out of politics, but because of the social justice thing, I've been kind of dragged into politics partly just to reel against the things that I can see happening to the world. And of course BBC and the mainstream media outlets, all that, they've become polluted, so it's a lot harder to watch news these days. You have to get a broad view of all sorts of different sources, and be extra skeptical of what you read. You know, don't believe everything you read anyway, that's done. But you have to do that a lot more these days because none of the mainstream news outlets do news anymore, so I'm still struggling to find a good main source of journalism that actually knows what the fuck they're talking about. Unbiased isn't a thing anymore. On top of the vegan thing, I guess, I'm not going to become vegan or something, but I'm starting to lean towards sugar-free foods and things. So I've been trying to find sugar-free sweets and things because I used to have quite a sweet tooth and eat loads of sweets and things. I had a filling replaced this year at the dentist. It's my first filling and only filling, touch wood. I've started eating sugar-free sweets, but there's not very many of them. There's only a few companies that do things like that, and I'm just wondering, is there a sugar-free sweet shop in England that I'm not aware of? That'd be quite cool to visit. So that was my year pretty much. It wasn't a good year. I wish it could have been better. It was defined mainly by looking after my dad, who's been going through some bad stuff recently, and it kind of affects me as well. And luckily there's things on the side I can enjoy, like space engineers that actually put some positivity into my life and make me happy in the brief moments when I'm not dealing with all this crap. And then there's other stuff that brings me down, like the social justice stuff, spewing out nonsense into the world and trying to bring us all down. I don't hold out hope that 2017 will be a better year. We just got to try our best to do what we can and just hope we can pull some joy out of the crap that is life. And it's not all doom and gloom. There are fun things out there. There are good times to be had. There are interesting things to be learnt that you can submerge yourself in. I try and make content on my channel mostly positive, that's why I keep my gaming videos there. But every now and then, bad things need to be addressed when they come along, else they just make your life terrible. And, you know, there's good things around, in all honesty. You just gotta find them and spend time in them while you still can. So, make the most of happiness when you see it, and try to be a better person if you can. Roll on 2017. Do you want to fight 2017? Huh? I'm ready for you. Hey guys, I heard 2017 wants a fight. Oh, we're gonna kick his ass. Pew. Oh, domestic abuse. Alright guys, I've babbled enough for one day, I think. Listen to Nine Inch Nails' new album, comes out on Friday. Listen to the new Metallica album. I'm just throwing some recommendations out there. Good things that happened this year. Watch Deadpool. You haven't watched Deadpool? What's wrong with you? That was a good Marvel film. Play BF1, play Space Engineers, watch the Red Pill movie, have an open mind. Goodbye.